also view and enjoy the content for today. So we'll go to our first survivor testimony to hear the real life struggle of a survivor of COVID-19.
COVID experience is real. Mine happened about a year ago. I was one of the first casualties of the COVID situation. Mine was March. I had just come back from work, and the next day I was supposed to go into work, but I just found out I had these pains all over my body, and I'm thinking, this is not exactly nice. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to go into work. So I called in that I'm not going to be able to make it in. And then it increased in intensity as the days progressed. As the day progressed, it increased in intensity. Then temperature. I checked my temperature. It was above normal. I thought, whoa. And then it looked as if someone had used a hammer to hack my whole body. And then I lost appetite for food, appetite for water. Everything became a chore. Then I was constantly throwing up. The only thing I felt like doing was being in bed. I called the National Health Line. What does the National Health Line say to you? Don't go into the hospital. I called my GP, called my surgeon. They said, don't come in, stay home. Then it was getting serious. Hospitals was an infection ground. There was panic in the land. The panic alone was worse than the virus. So I thought, you know what? You just feel, what can they do? There was no solution. It was new in the land. March 2020. You didn't know what to do. You just didn't know what to do. Hospitals were not offering anything. Couldn't go to hospital. They said, don't come. Don't come. Stay home. Just take Panadol. That's the only thing. The National Health Line, my surgery called me, just take Panadol. The pains. Well, of course, I was isolated in my room. No one could come in. My kids couldn't come into the room to see me. I was just there. Loneliness became an ally. The only person who could come in there to see me was my wife, to check out how I'm doing. And for this entire time, I was in this pain. It was painful. Then, I think after about 3 weeks or so, the mend came. I began to mend. I believe God heard my prayer. In between, they told me all kind of stuff I have to do. They would say, take ginger, take this, take that, mix it together and drink it. No appetite, nothing. You take it 1 minute, the next minute, it will all come out again. So it didn't work for me. I used old bath oil, put it in hot water, steamed it up, used a blanket and covered me, and I stayed inside that thing like in a sauna and just be breathing in. And by the time it's 15 minutes, you take it off, it's like you're drenched in perspiration. Whether it worked or not, I don't know. There's no scientific evidence that it worked. Maybe it cleared my lungs, I don't know. But the man came, and thank God I survived it. One morning I woke up and I found out that I was hungry, and I went and ate, and I actually survived it. I ate the food, it's still in my belly. It took me about 2 months to recover fully. Could pop out, begin to get some fresh air, and thank God I'm alive to give this testimony. I think the most important thing is when you're going through this sort of a thing is the mindset. You must have a very positive mindset and believe that it's going to be okay. And just hang in there, and keep trusting and believing that it's going to be okay.
Yomi Akinfesoye. Yomi Akinfesoye is not new to writing, even though this is his first book. Yet, the book has received notable accolades for its brilliant analysis and its objective view of the entire scenes across the world in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. The book centers on how people's recklessness contributed to the devastation from the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the inherent desire for malfeasance and misfeasance by political leaders. Yomi grew up in the Bariga suburb of Lagos State and the Jebu Itele in Ogun State. His education, like any, began with an elementary education at Oduduwa Primary School, Bagada, before proceeding to Ogun State for his secondary school education, and later attended and graduated from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria. Growing up, his mother was a strong influence on him, teaching him the basic rudiments of success such as hard work and impactful living that leaves a valuable impact on others. Yomi, like any loving son, speaks of his mother glowingly, who he says was herself a hard-working woman who went to the extra length to see her children excel, even where it was necessary that she sacrificed all that was valuable to her. She taught her son that the most important thing in life is not wealth, but integrity, and this maxim has ab initio hitherto guided Yomi's journey throughout his life. His journey to a successful career in engineering began in secondary school, SS2 to be precise, where he came across a book he likes to call a red book, right on a shelf in the school library, which described the different fields of endeavors and professional career choice. Reading on the different professions, he came across one that caught his attention at first sight. It was chemical engineering. The book, he says, described chemical engineering as a course that touches every aspect of life, and that was it. He could not think of any other profession except engineering. Today, Yomi is not just a successful engineer, but a seasoned process safety professional, an author, and a voluntary mathematics and chemistry teacher. With his numerous achievements in his field of endeavors and all his encounters with successes, when you ask him his proudest achievement, he's going to tell you that his proudest achievement is marrying a woman who has influenced other accomplishments. Yomi Akinfesoye is passionate about making an impact, and his vision for the future is to be known for inspiring people to believe that everything is possible, except if they don't take the first step. The same first step that was lacking in the fight against COVID-19, both from the leaders and the followers. Thus, reckless audacity. Please welcome the man of the moment, Yomi Akinfesoye.
Unveiling and launch of the book, Reckless Audacity. It is a book by an amazing author, Yomi Akinfesoye. You just probably missed the intro there, and of course a little bit of a bio of our author for today. But then if you did catch that, then you know he's also an engineer and one who has had a lot of influence all through his growing up and development. And today, he's gifting the world with a book, a 19 chapter, 295-page book of raw data and facts about the COVID-19 pandemic and how it affected everyone. I'm Sunday Mona, and with me right now in the flesh is our author. Will I say, permit me to say, engineer Yomi Akinfesoye. Good to have you right here with us.
Thank you. Nice being here.
Welcome. I came across your book. I've shown the book and given a copy to go through. And one of the first things that struck me was detail, the amount of attention you paid to details. It wasn't just opinion. It was you gathering data from different institutions and using those data to back up your points. So tell us a bit about the book.
Okay, thanks. It's good to be here, and I'm very, very excited that we're doing this today. Again, Yomi Akinfesoye is my name. I'm the author of the book, Reckless Audacity. Actually, Reckless Audacity is a book that kind of chronicles all the recklessness of humans and also the ineptitude of our leaders of great nations that, escalated the COVID-19 outbreak. You will recall when the outbreak happened in Wuhan market. Generally, you can have an outbreak, a virus outbreak, but typically what people should do, what experts should do, what leaders of countries should do, is to make sure it stops at outbreak level, doesn't go becoming a pandemic. But what did we see with COVID-19? It became a pandemic. And every day, especially during the lockdown, I was at home for like 2 months, doing nothing, just stay at home, you can't go out. I see a lot of disappointment in people, religious leaders, head of nations, adults. I mean, we typically downplay the virus until it became a pandemic, even at the point of when people were dying. I mean, prominent people in the society dying as a result of COVID-19, people were still downplaying the virus. And that was the recklessness part of it. And I have a 6-year-old then in 2020, right from the first day, she took that thing very serious. I mean, she became an advocate of washing your hands, using your mask. Then in my mind, every day I turn into the TV, I watch news, especially on CNN, and I keep asking myself, I have a 6-year-old who just by listening to news on the television became so passionate about the protocol of COVID-19. I mean, you need to wash your hands, you need to wear your mask, because this is a deadly virus. So I do compare her with leaders of nations. I compare with daddies, mommies, elders in the society, prominent figures in the society who were just downplaying the virus. I mean, they were telling us things they don't have any clue about. Coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you call it, is purely a scientific problem, which requires a scientific solution. But what did we see? We saw a situation whereby politicians were actually teaching scientists science. And again, it wasn't the situation. As of yesterday, we've recorded almost 3 million deaths all over the world, close to 3 million, as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, which for me was just avoidable. So I looked at it, hey, I need to put something on paper. Actually, I started with the intention of writing an article in the newspaper. But as information keeps coming, it turns out to be a book. Became bulky. A lot of information. Facts, which I think generation to come needs to know about. It shouldn't just be this generation. So that was what led to writing something on reckless audacity.
Wow. And then the title of the book, also one of the chapters in the book, you also described the title as, in another way, as foolish boldness, something like that, senseless boldness. What led to this particular title?
Okay, actually, if you look at the introductory part of the book, I tried to do some quick explanation on that. And actually, when I started writing things down concerning COVID-19, I was never thinking of the title of the book yet. But as time goes on, 3 words started coming up, especially when I started comparing my little daughter with people that I think should know better. I could see a kind of carefulness, cautiousness on the part of the 6-year-old. Then I see elders, I see political leaders, I see head of nations that were very reckless. And again, the audacity, the boldness they come out with to talk about what they don't know. They are not subject matter experts when it comes to COVID-19 or any virus. But these leaders, prominent figures, religious leaders come out to tell us as if they are the subject matter expert. And when you see the boldness, you think, oh, really, they are the expert. But guess what? They are not. And that was how the thought of reckless audacity came to mind.
Now talking about the book itself, there's a purpose for the book.
Okay.
There's something you wanted to give to the reader. What do you want the readers to take from this book?
Okay.
If you were to make a list and say, these are the things I'd like people to take from my book, once they read it, what would those things be?
Yeah, thank you. And that's a very good question. So for me, the purpose of this book, there are so many reasons, but I will just highlight just few. So when you look at data, you look at the internet, talking about pandemic, you have the plague that happened in 1720. You have in 1820, you have cholera. In 1920, I think it was the Spanish flu. Then in 2020, you had the coronavirus. So I've heard people saying, oh, it happens every 100 years.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, it's 100 years. So that means once you survive it now, oh, you are good for the next 100 years. Nah. That's not true. Because scientists have done a lot of research, and you don't be surprised the next virus, the next outbreak might be coming from China again, based on research work that has been done. So it's not going to happen the next 100 years because the way we people, the way we encroach on the animal kingdom, the forest now, we are interacting with the animals. And those animals carry this virus, especially bats. They have this virus on them, but they are immune to it. So the moment we start interacting with these animals, encroaching on their abode, we take these diseases, and we are not immune to those diseases.
And it's new to us, it's novel.
It's novel to us, and we start spreading it. So it's not going to be 100 years. So one of the reasons is to have this book is to make sure this information goes across to people. Hey guys, if you survive COVID-19, it doesn't mean the next one is going to happen in the next 100 years. No, it might be tomorrow. So you need to be prepared. And that's why you see in the last part of this book, I talk about future pandemic and how do we respond. People need to learn from this COVID-19 pandemic and inculcate the lesson into responding. And not just the people, even the government, our leaders, people in the society, prominent people, they need to learn from it. So the last section of this book talks about the future pandemic. How do we respond so that we don't have a repeat? Like I told you, almost 3 million deaths recorded as at yesterday.
That's huge.
Very huge and very, for me, avoidable. And again, so another thing is, when you look at it today, a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of lies flying about. But you will notice in the next 3, 4, 5 years, we've forgotten it.
A lot of the conspiracies over time tend to come like rain and then just goes away.
Just goes up.
It goes away. Then we pick up on the next one and it's like fever, gets to its fever pitch and then it goes away.
Exactly.
It comes and goes. And then I've asked people, how come you don't take records of past conspiracies and how they disappeared?
Exactly.
And then you're hopping on another one.
In fact, you just hit it. That's the second reason, that something needs to be documented. And like I mentioned in the book, I'm not a virologist, I'm not an epidemiologist, I'm an engineer. So you will notice my focus was not on the COVID-19 as a disease, because I don't have the expertise to do that. But again, the recklessness that escalated the issue should be documented. This is not to blame anybody, but let's document it so that the future generation will learn from it. Even the current generation should pick up this book, read, and digest it, because they are facts. They were not cooked up by anyone, but facts. That's it.
And these are from you. They're not for any agenda, but simply for collection of data, facts, and for the benefit of enlightening the population.
Exactly.
You and I. All right, we're still on the program. Thank you so much for that take on the book.
Thank you.
It has even made it even more curious and curiouser for people yet to read it. In case you're wondering what this video is about, you just hop on it. It is the official unveiling and the launch of a book, Reckless Audacity, by the author that is with us here right now. In case you missed the brief chat there, don't worry. We'll have more time to find out more about the book. I'm Sunday Imona, and of course my guest has been the author, Yomi Akinfesoye. Yeah. So at this point, we'll go for our second testimony of a survivor. I'd like you to come along with us and let's have a taste of that. I'll be right back.
It's a live program. So I want to be sure you have the right information for the.
Okay, let's go. Three. And we're back. All right. Okay, a quick one. Quick one. For those who connected on Zoom, we'd like to apologize for the lack of audio for a bit. Right there, we do sincerely apologize for that. And so we're going to quickly take a quick run of a brief session, the interview session where we get to hear from the author of the book. And for those who are still streaming on Facebook, and also those who just joined in, this is the official launch and review of an amazing book. It's simply titled Reckless Audacity. And we have the author here with us in the person of Yomi Akinfesoye. So we're going to ask a few questions of him. He's here in the person. So once again, it's so amazing to have you.
So excited to be here.
All right. So the book itself is a collection of data. I was so impressed with the efforts put in to gather these data from different reliable sources, institutions, and not shadow institutions, if I might say so myself. These are institutions that we know about, global institutions that have been doing data collection for decades. And all of these you can find in the book, Reckless Audacity. Now, to you now, um, the book, can you tell us a bit about it?
All right, thank you. Actually, for Reckless Audacity, it's a book that chronicles uh, the recklessness of humans and ineptitude of leaders in managing the COVID-19 outbreak, which resulted in a pandemic. So it describes past pandemic, just to give a good background. Then the current pandemic, how did we respond as people, as a government, as institutions? What was our response like? The recklessness, and again, not just about the bad things only, but again, we look at the good things. So we look at countries like New Zealand, Right from day one, early in January 2020, they locked down. They did what science asked them to do. And you can see the result today. New Zealand is fine, COVID-19 wise. So we documented everything that has to do with the response, both positive and the negative response, the bad, the good. And again, we look at our country, Nigeria. So the first two parts talks globally in terms of COVID-19 response. Then the part 3 of the book talks about Africa and Nigeria, which is my home country. How did we do as individuals, as governments, you know. Then the later part talks about the lesson for the future. Because pandemic, there will always be virus outbreak. But we want to make sure it doesn't get to the level of a pandemic. So we want to learn from this. So the later part of the book talks about this lesson. How do we prepare for the future?
Okay, the title of the book itself, Reckless Audacity. Audacity has long been thought to be something of a positive description. You know, but when you attach recklessness to it, recklessness, which is not a positive, you know, adjective to use on anything, reckless audacity. Why that title?
Okay, so when you look at the outbreak from December 2019, and you listen to news, you watch TV, you listen to experts, you listen to people, you listen to a lot of conspiracy theories, you listen to so many things. You will see people that doesn't know anything about COVID-19. I mean, they are not experts in that field. They come out with so much boldness, telling you this is what we think it should be. A lot of lies, a lot of misleading information. And honestly, that escalated the situation. So I see a situation where people became so reckless, even to wear a mask became an issue. Even to wash hands, they tell you, no, it's a scam, there's nothing like COVID-19. So I could see the recklessness across the entire hard surface. Then the other part is these people that are not experts in this field telling us what it should be. So it was only during the COVID-19 pandemic that I saw politicians, religious leaders telling scientists how to do science.
It was really
very ridiculous. And you can see the result today.
Strange.
Almost 3 million deaths from COVID-19 as of yesterday.
Unfortunately.
I mean, so that's it.
So the take home from the book, because definitely there are things you want people to take once they read the book, things that you like them to hold to heart.
Yeah.
So if you were to make a list of the take home that you as the author would want people to take from the book, what would they be?
Honestly, very good question. Because the purpose of writing this book is not to add another book to the shelf, but we want people to learn from it. Because you notice that when things happen, in 2 or 3 months' time, we've forgotten it. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we started moving on. But for COVID-19 or any pandemic like this, I want it to be a situation where people, even children that are not yet born now, can have a documentation of what happened at this period. I give you an example. The Spanish flu that happened 100 years ago, the cholera outbreak that happened 200 years ago, the plague that happened 300 years ago, because people are now telling me, oh, it happens every 100 years. Hey, I want people to be able to have something, facts, not something cooked up by the author. No, these are facts put together so that we can learn from it. Because the next pandemic, I tell you, is not going to happen in another year's time. It may happen tomorrow when you look at the way things are going in the environment. So I want people to get ready, to have something to prepare with, to have lessons learned from this pandemic and use it in responding to future pandemics.
Thank you very much for that breakdown. If I may ask, the world is changing.
Yeah.
We're affecting our environment. There's the clamor about global change. And according to the calendar, the global climate change calendar, the clock, we have barely 10 years to do the right thing, after which, no matter what we do, we're going to be going down in terms of the weather and the climate. So this means we're going to be having more outbreaks going forward. Finally, what would you say to people watching us right now concerning conspiracies? Because conspiracy theorists did like the most damage to all the efforts trying to save lives during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we're still in, by the way, but we're moving past it just gradually. So what would you say to the readers and those watching right now concerning conspiracies and conspiracy theories?
Okay, let me start with the word of Abraham Lincoln, which says, the most reliable way to predict the future is to create it. So it's time for us to create the future that we want. Because honestly, What you're going to see now, you're going to see a lot of outbreak, virus outbreak. We can't escape it. And this is not coming from me, Yomi Akinfesoye. This is coming from experts, scientists. They've done a lot of research. And what they are telling us is, hey, as far as we continue to encroach on these animals in the forest, in the bushes, in the rivers, wherever they are, we're going to pick up diseases that are peculiar to them. For instance, in China area now, we have a kind of species of bat that carries a lot of coronavirus strain. But guess what? They are immune to it. They don't fall sick. But immediately, any human being gets in contact with those animals, they take these diseases and they start spreading. And we are not immune to it. And that's exactly what has happened with COVID-19. So my message is this. People need to really believe science. We need to believe science, irrespective of who you are, whether you're in the medical field, you're an engineer, you are a religious leader, a politician. Let us allow scientists to do science. We shouldn't be interfering at all. Because when we do interfere in our scientific issues, we mislead people. So I want to encourage everyone, especially the youth, let's not outsource our thinking capability. We should be able to think ourselves. We shouldn't listen to all these conspiracy theories and just take everything full kind and sinker. No.
Usually without verification.
Without verification. People just go out there, oh, my godfather said, my daddy said, my pastor said, my political leader said. No. You have internet. Google it. Do research on your own. Don't just believe everything. Because when you believe everything, you get misled. And that's exactly what has happened with COVID-19. Even the
Started like malaria on December 30th, 2020.
before the end of the day, you get to find out how you can get your copy, and both online and other platforms. So stay with us. Don't even go anywhere. Before I forget, you also have to invite your friends to join the video. You can share on your page, copy the link, and post in groups, and get as many people as possible to get to tune in and be a part of this right now. All right, so we'll move on to the unveiling of the book. It is a 19-chapter book of 295 pages of raw data, analysis, and more like an expository, journey into COVID-19 and how it affected the world, but most especially our behavior from the part of leadership, the citizens, and comparing that with how those who had the right reactions and right mindsets, even children, played out at the end of the day. We have countries like Brazil still struggling. The United States also have a lot of cases. Nigeria, we have challenges, but mostly it has been economical, mostly. And then we have other countries, even China had their own run. Earlier in the journey last year, we had the likes of Italy and Iran. The UK crossed 100,000, deaths 2 months ago. And then we have France crossing 70,000 around the same period. And so we have Israel vaccinating so many people at this point in time. India have done like almost 100 million vaccination. Nigeria is currently doing a vaccination drive. It's a battle that the entire world is part of. So let's move on to the unveiling of the book, where all of this is coming from, and let's find out more as we continue right here, right now. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been with us from the beginning, and cheers. Just stay with us. We'll get to it in a bit. Let's move forward. Please, see. Hello.
Hi.
It started like malaria on December 30th, 2020. I had an itchy throat. I knew I was going to have a sore throat. I had body pains and some fever. So I went to the pharmacy and I bought anti-malarials. Before going to the pharmacy, I started doing steam inhalation because of my throat. Now, I have asthma. So I never allow my body to have cough, catarrh, or even a sore throat, because if I leave those to go untreated, I could have a really bad asthma attack. So I was doing steam inhalation morning and night. I was taking the anti-malarials, and then I was also drinking an assortment of herbs for this sore throat so that it would not develop into a cough. I was taking ginger, turmeric, and garlic and lime. But I didn't get any better. By January 2nd, I stopped smelling. I couldn't taste anything. Again, I thought it was the malaria. By the third, however, I was cooking and I suddenly realized I couldn't smell the food I was cooking. I stepped outside my apartment and I plucked ephemy leaves, that's African basil or scent leaf. I couldn't perceive anything. I put it in my nose, I couldn't perceive anything, and it felt really strange. That was when I decided to go to the hospital. The doctor wrote out a test for me to go do. At the test center, when they took my sample, I was told that it's possible I could be positive, so I should isolate so I don't infect other people. I was also told that many people have this symptom of loss of smell and taste, but most of those people were asymptomatic. I, however, being asthmatic, had to be extra careful. So I went home, I was isolating and waiting for my test results. It took 5 days or so before the results came back from NCDC. It was a harrowing 5 days because in those days I could not smell, I could not taste. I suddenly would have these bouts of weakness. I would have periods when I couldn't breathe well, but having breathing difficulty is something I kind of know about because of the history I've had with asthma. I've had asthma for 17 years. So when I told my doctor, he said, do you have your asthma meds? Take them. And it was a good thing that I had those meds at home with me because I now started taking the medication for, my bronchodilator was always with me, that's my inhaler. I was taking steroids to help my lungs so that I would be able to breathe. Still, I would have those moments when I couldn't breathe well. And I would have moments of extreme weakness. And then when the test results came out, you know how they would say if you don't have really severe symptoms, you can't be put in the isolation center, but continue isolating at home. Then there was this pack that had medicine in it from the government, and one was to take those drugs for that period. I had a friend who said, oh, okay, in addition to whatever medicine you're taking, you should take some other herbal supplements to build your immunity. You should take lots of high-dose vitamin C. I had been taking high-dose vitamin C for over a year, still I was ill. Take vitamins D, take E, take several things. And I did everything that everyone said. Still, I was doing steam inhalation morning and night. I was drinking lots of warm things. In that period, I wasn't even drinking room temperature water because my chest was giving me a lot of trouble. I had to drink hot water, warm to hot water every day. This is how I managed the battle with those drugs I was taking and the herbs. And so that by the 12th day, I realized that when I put when I did my steam inhalation and I used eucalyptus oil in the steam, I could actually perceive the smell of eucalyptus oil. I wasn't able to smell that before. So I was very excited. I was very excited because I believed that this was evidence that I was about to win the war against COVID-19. It was a very difficult time in the sense that since I was isolating, I couldn't go out to buy food, but I thank the Lord that I had a support system. I had friends and family who would come and drop off food by my gate. They wouldn't come into the house because I told them I'm isolating, I can't see anybody. So in that period, that was how I was able to eat. I live alone, so I had people who were calling me morning, afternoon, night, how are you doing? I hope you're not getting any worse. Are you having more symptoms? Do we need to come and take you to the hospital? And I kept on saying, I'm fine, I'm taking it easy, I'm taking my drugs, I'm doing all the things I've been told to do, I'm using all the herbs I'm using. I didn't tell my mother because I didn't want her to worry. She's hypertensive, I didn't want her to worry extra. I just managed to do everything I was told to do and pay attention to my body. I say pay attention to my body because the difficulty in breathing was something that usually I know that if I have difficulty in breathing when I have asthma attacks, is that I am having an asthma attack. But in this period, I would not have exposed myself to anything, no sweeping, no frying, so it's not smoke, it's not dust that is triggering the attack, but I'll just suddenly realize I can't breathe well. So, I had to pay attention to my body in that period. And then gradually, I realized I was beginning to regain my energy. And I had fewer bouts of the difficulty in breathing. And so I went back to the center and did another test, which took another couple of days. And then they said I was negative, and I was very, very happy. Before I had COVID-19, I believed that there was COVID-19. I've always believed it because I'd heard of people who had it. I knew someone who actually passed from it. And so I was always wearing a face mask. In that period, I used to ask myself, how is it possible that I, who always wore face mask, I always have a hand sanitizer in my bag. I wash my hands as often as possible. I used to wonder how I got it. Then I realized that the one place I went to around Christmas, 25th of December, 27th of December, was a place of worship because it's Christmas time and we had all these programs. And so I know that even though in my place of worship we are mandated to wear face mask, there are people who would take theirs off. I remember clearly that somebody who sat in front of me was coughing and she had her mask off. And that made me realize that no matter how, even one face mask might not be enough if you're in close proximity to somebody, because if the person has COVID-19 and the person is coughing or talking loudly or shouting, then you could contact it from them. So it was a learning period for me as well, and I'm just very grateful that after all of what has happened, I was able to battle and survive it, even though I am an asthma patient.
Welcome back. Good to know that you're still with us. We've reached the point where, should I call it a fever pitch in our little interview and the launch of the book Reckless Audacity. We're going to be doing the unveiling as promised right now, and on the count of 3, we're already being joined by a wife to our beloved author, and of course facilitator as well, and joining our convener who's also the author, and yours truly. So on the count of 3, we'll do a reverse count and then we'll unveil. So let's grab the clock and just on the reverse count of 3, 2, 1. A round of applause. All right, everybody. Reckless Audacity, and that's the book we've been talking about all day. You can find details of how to get your copy online. We provide the information. You want to buy directly from the internet, you could do that. It's also available on various platforms. This is what the book looks like, and it is written by our author, a beloved author, Yomi Akinfesoye, who happens to be an engineer, speaking from the perspective of data, actual facts that can be verified. How many hard copies do we have? We have the softback and the hardback as well, and both are available for those who would like to pick a copy to get some of the amazing illustrations within the book. It is one of its kind in Nigeria, if I do say so myself, and data which would help not just for today, but going to the future, helping us to prepare for things like this. At this point, I'd like the author to speak a little bit on the book and give us a word, more like audio autograph for everyone watching at this point in time.
All right, thank you very much. It's good to be back once again. Like we've talked about this, Reckless Audacity. This is a book, like I mentioned, it's not just an addition to the bookshelf, but actually an addition to the intellectual space. It's full of information, full of facts, and want to encourage everyone to make sure you get a copy online or get a hard copy locally and internationally. This is a book that will educate you. Irrespective of your background, you will get all the facts. It doesn't contain a lot of medical jargon that has to do with virus. No, don't be scared. This is purely simple English, simple facts that you can digest. Anybody can digest it. Reckless Audacity, for me, is a big addition to the intellectual space that will help us in terms of information and documentation, and especially how to react for the next pandemic. The lesson that we've learned so far is something that you must get, and I encourage everyone to pick up a copy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause, please. Let's give it up. Let's give it up. All right. And at this point, I'd like to speak to people who are lovers of knowledge. I would like to promote the spread of knowledge, not misinformation. Book readers and those promoting books. If you want to give anything to push for this project, you can do so. We'll provide the information. Just look to the screen and you get all the data and everything. You want to support this dream and you want to keep this going. The books are for sale, yeah, but then there are those who love to promote knowledge. And knowledge is also like food to mankind and can help us to make our future what we want it. The author quoted Abraham Lincoln of saying the best way to predict the future is to create it. And one way that we can create our future is studying data, looking at history and making our choices, taking precautionary measures and going forward into a future that is brighter. So for those who would like to support, it is free will. You could do so using the information that would be displayed on the screen. Feel free to reach out, and of course, let's feel you on this. And for those who'd like to pick a copy to read and add that to the knowledge, wealth of knowledge of not just COVID-19, but on how to take the right steps when it comes to global pandemics or how to relate with science. But by the way, science is from God. So it's not something that we need to fight. For those who'd like to pick a copy also, you'd have the data displayed on the screen and you can just click on and order for your copy. Thank you so much for joining this video. And then a quick one though, I did get questions because I spoke about a couple of persons about the book before coming here today. And one of the most prominent questions that people ask is this book a result of a group or just one person? Because everybody seems to think anything that is done today must have the pushing of a group and an agenda. So the author is here and he will answer the question. Agenda. So,
all right.
Are you going for political office anytime soon?
No. Now, the truth is this. This book is not meant to drive any agenda. It's actually, like I mentioned earlier on, it's just an additional input into the intellectual space. No political agenda, nothing, no religious agenda, but actually I just see it as something that needed to be done, to be added to the society. I need people to get the fact. I need them to get the information. I want them to react the right way. So that's why we put this together. It's a lot of information, a lot of facts here. Not stories that were cooked up. No, fact that you can check anywhere. So I just believe that's something that we need to do to make sure these things are well documented for the intellectual space. So no agenda. Thank you.
Thanks for clearing that off the way. Okay, well, I'd like to hear from... You don't want to say anything? Okay, let me make it very simple. Your impression so far on the book. If you were to tell a friend about this book, what are the things you'd say about it?
They should just get a copy and read it.
Just get a copy and read it. Okay, that's just straightforward and straight to the point. Thank you very much. All right, we do have some more things that we will do right here. The producers are getting ready a little book reading that will feature, and that will be by the daughter of the author. She will be doing a reading from the book, and we will be having that in a bit. Are we ready for that? Are we going to be having that now, or we'll probably do that a little later? Just want to get that confirmation, and then we'll switch to do that, and then we'll be right back.
It was long.
It was long.
What's going on?
Which one?
These things are you going to finish?
They give the hand sign. No, they were trying to figure it out. They were giving me hand signs to keep talking. Yeah, that's what all those things I was saying at the end wasn't part of it. So,
Watch it.
they were trying to figure it out.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I kept talking.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we should have the cake. Cake.
Yeah.
Today's your birthday.
Yes, it is my birthday. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Long life.
Thank you.
Prosperity.
Thank you, sir.
I saw the cake downstairs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
let's just show you the same play.
Okay.
Sit.
What was happening before?
Somebody help.
Book reading, right?
Somebody help me.
So what was playing before? The head. Yes.
No, you're the one talking, right?
Yes. So just to say we're playing the game.
Okay.
Wow.
So, alright.
Having confirmed from our producers, we're going to be having the book reading by Yomi Akinfesoye, daughter of author Yomi Akinfesoye. Let's have the book reading.
And it's a great honor to be here today. Good day, everyone. My name is Kemi, and it's a great honor to be here today. I'll be handling the first reading of this book. I'll be reading chapter 3, titled COVID-19 Preventive Rules and Associated Recklessness. When the coronavirus began to expand the width of its venom across the length and breadth of national societies, the World Health Organization and other social health groups did their bidding by monitoring people to follow precautionary measures to prevent the spreads. Social distancing rules, hand washing with soap and water, wearing a face mask, and stay-at-home orders were the commonest of tasks expected by people in every society. These preventive admonitions became the best possible necessity given that curative measures were not in place. The primary essence of social distancing, like hand washing and stay-at-home orders, was to help prevent a community and public or global health crisis. Unfortunately, the objective never saw the light of day, as the virus bloated beyond the scope of an epidemic to become a pandemic. And this had occurred as a result of reckless behaviors. While COVID-19 was struggling to gain momentum at the start of 2020, a lot of people around the world had helped its course by ignoring instructions from health experts, further by going about their daily lives unconcerned. People underrated the potency of the virus, prevalent virulence, taking it might never fly out of Wuhan. Along with other people kept holding and attending social events, shaking hands, hugging, sharing pecs, and carrying out all sorts of social duties with the harmless thought that it was business as usual. But these everyday cautious lifestyles at a time when the disease was spreading fast resulted in a bane of recklessness that amounted to viral escalations and unwarranted fatalities. Even when COVID-19 had crossed borders, sending cold chills of panic attack across global cities, there was still a good number of individuals with contrasting opinions and defaulting actions regarding the measures established to prevent the spread. Some never believed in the existence of a lethal virus sweeping across the globe. Others expressed consensus defiance against following the rules, while others of people considered the virus as a harmful trifle, like the Brazilian president, Jair Bolsonaro, who termed it a little cold. However, it must be pointed out that the critical indicator of the spread of COVID-19 was a result of reckless audacity from different societal quarters. Individuals who did not follow the laid down orders were liable to contract the disease and spread it more to other people, a process that led to the domino effect of the virus. Aged people and those with underlying ailments were the most susceptible, and as the indication showed, these sets of people were the most affected by the virus. As pointed out, the disease became a full-blown pandemic through reckless actions of perhaps and suspected super spreaders. And all of these, nothing had explored the fragility of humanity's reckless behaviors like the COVID-19 pandemic. As one commentator had observed, when Italy witnessed its first case of coronavirus, physical distancing was not one of the measures required by the government. Consequently, the population continued with physical interactions, which led to widespread community transmission of the virus. Like Italy, the city of New York in America was bundled up by the virus as a result of non-compliance to preventive measures. While cities across the world had restricted movement and closed up economic activities, people in New York were still out and about, engaging in economic and social activities until when the spread exponentially and brought the cities to its knees, resulting in innumerable loss of lives. It was also reported a spike in number of cases in countries like Spain, India, Brazil, and Russia, were a result of people's negligence in wearing face masks. However, the United States, followed by the United Kingdom, were considered the epicenter of non-compliance regarding the preventive measures of the coronavirus. The appearance and effect of the COVID-19 virus into social lives brought to the fore a whole lot of dynamic interplay in humanity's quest to survive. Perspective matters in observing the role it played in keeping the world at a standstill. The same can be said about the efforts put in to prevent the scourge from escalating beyond bound. The roles played by experts like those in the health sector, those in competent governmental institutions, philanthropists, and community service providers must be commended. But for these humanists and a host of others not mentioned here, humanity perhaps might have had it to the brink of extinction, given the recklessness displayed by a host of other people. Recklessness and audacious falls made more of the morning's headlines, especially those expressed by political leaders and role models in societies. Non-compliance, contrasting the preventive strides of the virus, also made the rounds in many societies become the primary indicators in assisting the spread of the virus. A lot of people do not follow the simple rules of regularly washing their hands. Others flouted the social distancing rules as well as the stay-at-home order, and more resisted wearing of face masks. These points reflect reckless behaviors in the face of a pandemic. Thank you for listening.